This conference will now be recorded.
So in the previous session, we have discussed about the web services and how can we implement the REST-based web services and how to prepare a class can be accessible from the third-party applications with the help of by giving a resource name with the help of REST resource annotation we have discussed. And how can we access that resource we have discussed. Now, so now let's see how can we implement the business logic inside this class, how to prepare the methods, and with the help of those methods, how can we perform the various operations. So in order to perform the operations inside your object with the help of this web service class methods, we are going to be using the various annotations which has been given by Salesforce by default. As part of this RESTful web services, Salesforce has given the 5 methods over here, like as get method, post method, put method, patch method, and the delete method. These are the 5 methods are available. Now let's see each and every method one by one, and then how can we implement it. We'll see with some practical examples, and we'll see how can we test these web services also. Now, the first annotation, the first method, HTTP get method. So what is the use of this HTTP get method? Now let's see. So these are the various annotations which has been given by Salesforce which can be applicable on the method level. Nothing but on the functions level, we can able to utilize these methods. These annotations can be used to interact with your Salesforce objects and then we can perform the various operations. So whatever the 5 methods are available, get method, post method, put method, patch method, delete method, these can be applicable on the method level. Inside the class, whatever the procedures or whatever the functions that you are preparing on those procedures levels, on those functions level, we can able to use these annotations. These can't be applicable on the class level. These should be only applicable on the method level. It may be procedure, it may be function. Then how can we use this? Okay, get annotation, what is the use, and then how to implement, we'll see practically. HTTP get method. So what is the use of this get method? Get method is used to get the records, nothing but in order to retrieve the records information from the resource. So in this case, this annotation allows us to get the required resources or the information or the data from the object or from the provider. Provider means what? From server. So the third party people are going to be utilizing these methods, and then with the help of this method, they can get the data from Salesforce to third party. Okay, Salesforce to third party, they can able to access. Now, in this case, get method is used to get the resource information. In order to get the resource information or the records information from the provider to consumer, we are using the help of this HTTP get. Now, this annotation is used to get the required resource information from the provider to consumer. Provider means what? Server. Consumer means client. That's it. From server to client, we can able to fetch the data. Because my Salesforce application is a provider and the third party application is a server, client. So that third party application can invoke my web service, they can consume my web service, and then with the help of this get method, they can able to get the record from my Salesforce application to third party applications. So now here in this case, in order to get the required records information from the Salesforce objects, we are using this HTTP get method. Now, So now this annotation will be applicable on what? This annotation can be applicable only on the method level here. This annotation can be applicable only on method level. It may be procedure, it may be function, it may be anything here. Now, then how can we define that method and how can we define this annotation? So whenever we are going to be defining that method, all the web services method should be defined with the static keyword that should be defined with the global access specifier. All the web services method should be defined with the global access specifier, and those should be always static. Why? Because these methods are going to be accessing by the third-party people. Third-party applications are accessing your web services. So that here, these methods should be always defined with the global access specifier. Now, all the web service methods should be defined with global access specifier and should be defined as static. So that they no need to create any object of that web service class. Directly they can able to access this by using the resource. So always all the web services method should be defined with global access specifier, because these are going to be accessing with the third-party organization. We are not accessing these web services within the organization. We are accessing from third-party organizations and the third-party applications, so that these can be accessible. Okay, if we are defining with the global. And that too, directly the consumer can be receiving this particular web service. They would like to invoke this web service with the help of that resource name. So at that time, always we have to define this method with static keyword. Then, how can we use this one? So now we have to specify @HTTP get annotation, and then we can able to specify the method global static. We can specify the return type, and then we can specify the method name. We can specify the method name. And then we can able to write the business logic. We can write the business logic. Now, so in this case, whenever we are going to be defining the methods, web service methods, always web service method should be defined with the global access specifier, and every web service method should be defined with the static keyword. Now we have to indicate here. We have to indicate that what kind of operation you are doing with the help of this method. So by using this method, I would like to get the record. That means this method is going to be returning some records here. So that get method is used to get the records. In order to retrieve the required information from the Salesforce objects, we are going to be using this HTTP get. HTTP get is an annotation which will be indicating to the third-party web service, use this get method in order to get the records from Salesforce to the third-party applications. Now, so in this case, there is a small principle. There is a small rule. Now, let me explain, which is a very, very important question in the interview point of view also. For example, I'm preparing a class, a web service class. In that web service class, I'm preparing one HTTP get annotated method. Can I create one more method with HTTP get annotation? No. A class can have only one HTTP get annotated method, not more than that. We can't create the multiple methods with the same annotation. Okay, we can't create the multiple methods with the same annotation inside a class. Inside a web service class, we can't create multiple methods with the same annotation. So with this HTTP get annotation, we should have only one method, not multiple, inside a web service class. That is a principle we have to follow. It's a common question in every interview. Now, we can't create multiple methods inside the web service class with the same annotation. For example, we can have only one @HTTP get annotated method. @HTTP get annotated. Annotated method inside the web service class. We can't create multiple. It will be giving the compilation error. So we can't create the multiple methods with the same annotation. No. So this is the fundamental principle. Upon creating that web services, RESTful web services, within the web service class, we can't create multiple methods with the same annotation. Every method should have the different annotations here, not same. Now, so in this case, how can we define this methods over here? Now, let me, for example, I'm creating a class, global class, some accounts manager. So now this is the class here. I want to make this class can be accessible by the third-party application, so that I'm indicating, okay, with the help of an annotation called as @REST resource. So that means this is a RESTful web service. I want to make this class as a RESTful web service, and then we can specify the resource name. So how can we specify the resource name? We can specify the URL mapping. / I would like to indicate account records or service, anything. We can give any name, whatever you want for the resource /star. So now whenever if you want to access this web service class accounts manager, then we have to use the resource name called as account records or service. This is the resource name which we have to use in order to access that web service class. And then through this web service class, what I want to do, I want to collect all the account records available inside my object. Then what we can do in this case here, we have to prepare the method here. Global static, because here all the methods should be global and the method should be static. And then I would like to collect the records here. What records? Account records. So now I'm returning that records. How many? Multiple. So that I'm indicating list of accounts. So return type is list of account, because I'm returning the collection of records to the third-party application. So I'm indicating that get all accounts. You can give any name over here. Here you can write the business logic. Write the business logic. So we are writing the business logic inside the method. So all the web services method should be defined with the global access specified, and then this should be defined with the static keyword. And then we can specify. So what is the method name? Get all account. What is the purpose of this method? This method is going to be returning all the account records, so that whatever the account records are available inside my object, I'm collecting all the account records I want to return to the third-party application, so that I'm giving the return type as a list of account, so that I'm returning the list of account records to my third-party application. Then what I'm doing here, I would like to call this method. How can we call this method in order to get the records? For that one, I'm indicating that annotation @HTTP get. That means what? Whenever the third-party organization wants to invoke this method, simply they have to use a method name as get. That's it. They no need to specify the method name directly, so they have to use the method name as get. So now whenever they're using that get method name, then whatever the method is available inside this resource, whatever the method is available inside this web service class, which is having the get annotated method, that method will be getting executed. It will return the records to you. Now, so now here in this case, how can we create these RESTful web services and how can we test it? How can we test it? Which you will see practically in this case. Now, so now let's see practical example here. So this is the way we have to prepare the RESTful web services. So we have to prepare that web service class, by using that annotation @REST resource, because this is the resource which I'm preparing right now, which is available inside my organization, which can be consumed by the third-party organization. This is the name of the resource. I'm not exposing my class name, simply I'm exposing the resource name. I'm not exposing the method names also, simply I'm giving the name as get, that's it. Use the get method, you can access my method here. I'm not giving my method names here, simply this is a get method and this is the resource name, that's it. I'm not disclosing my class name, I'm not disclosing my method name here. So without disclosing my class name and the method name also, they can able to access. Why I'm not disclosing? Because of the security reasons. So for that reason here, we are going to be giving the resource names and the method names. So now let's see how can we implement this functionality right now. Now, let's see a practical example. Take a small use case. Create a RESTful web service to get all the account records from the account object. Create a RESTful web service to get all the account records from the account object. Now, so let's see how can we prepare this web service. Now, I want to create a RESTful web service. That means I want to create a class. In that class, I want to prepare a method which will be used to return all the records available inside my object to the third-party applications. How can we do that? Now let's see practically in this case. Now, so let me prepare this web service right now. Go to the developer console. Prepare a RESTful web service class. Now, I'm preparing a new Apex class. I'm indicating account manager service. Okay, accounts and manager service. This is the web service class I'm preparing here. So now what I need to do in this case, first of all, we have to make that class as global, because this class will be accessing by the third-party application, so that these are accessible from the outside of the organization. So I'm defining it as a global. So global in the sense what? These can be accessible from outside. Outside means what? Not all the third-party application. Only my Salesforce resources can access here, like as Apex Queue, Flex Queue, like that. These are the batch classes, scheduling classes. These are the resources only can able to access my class, not the third-party applications. So to make this class can be accessible by the third-party applications also, like a Java application, .NET application, CWell, or it may be any other application, mainframe, SAP, anything. In order to consume my web service, in order to access my web service, we are going to be adding that annotation here @REST resource. Nothing but this REST resource is going to be indicating this is a web service class which can be accessible by the third-party organizations. Until or unless if you're not providing the REST resource annotation, this cannot be accessible by the third-party application. Even though it is a global, third-party applications can't access.
When you are defining it as a global, is it accessible within the orgs?
Yes. Yes. So within that organization, within our current organization, within my current organization, I can access that. And from outside of the organization also. Outside of the organization means up to what level? By using that Salesforce resources, not the other organizations. You can't invoke my service, even though if I'm defining as a global. If I'm making it as a REST resource, then you can access my web service.
Okay.
Okay. Now.
Okay.
Now the REST resource. I'm giving the resource name. URL mapping equals to specify that. I'm indicating that accounts service. Accounts service /star. So now here I have defined a web service here. I have defined a web service class which can be accessible by using a resource name called as accounts service. Now, so I'm going to preparing a method. global static. I want to return all the account records as part of my use case. I want to return all the account records to the third-party application, so that I'm indicating that list of account, because how many records will be available? Multiple. So we need to store inside the collection. So list collection, I'm using that list of account. I want to return get all account records. Get all account records. I want to return all those account records over here. So now how the third-party people can access this method here to collect this record. So let me write the business logic inside this. I'm going to preparing that business logic. List of account, some LST accounts equals to, I'm collecting the records. Select ID of the account, name, the rating, industry, annual revenue, phone, fax, type, active status, from account, order by. You can use all the classes whatever you want. Okay, whatever the classes that we have in SOQL query, everything you can apply, no problem. Everything can be applicable. So now here I'm going to be writing an SOQL query. Okay, I'm writing an SOQL query. Through this SOQL query, I'm collecting all the account records available inside my account object, and now I want to return these records. How can we return? For that one here, I'm going to be using a return statement. Return LST accounts. Return LST accounts. I'm going to be returning these particular records. I'm returning these records here. Now, how the third-party people can invoke this method over here? If they want to access that method, they have to use an annotation called as @HTTP get. I'm defining as get. Nothing but the people can able to access my method by using a method type called as get method. This is the HTTP get annotated method, so that upon invoking this resource, okay, upon invoking this resource, they have to use that method type as get. They have to use a method type as get method. That's what here when you go to the HTTP classes, we have a method called as set method. In that one, we are indicating get or post or put, like that we are specifying that, so that simply they will specify either the get or the post method or patch method or delete method, whatever they want, they can specify. Based on that, they can able to invoke my web service class. Now done. So now tell me here, do we have any difficulty in this one? Except these 2 lines, anything is new over here? Everything is same, no change. Same class, same methods. But just we have used global access specifier, and then we have added 2 lines of code. One is for the class level, second one is for the method level. That's it. Apart from this one, do we have any other changes? No. Same Apex code, nothing different. As of now, that's what here I already told you. Web service is nothing but simply a class which contains some business logic which can be accessible from third-party applications. As of now, so many business logic we have implemented, so many classes we have prepared, so many controller classes we have prepared, so many methods also we have prepared, so much business logic we have written, but we are able to access those things within the organization only as of now. But now I want to make my business logic can be accessible by some third-party application. That's what here I'm exposing the business logic to third-party applications. Okay, with the help of these 2 annotations over here at the rate of REST resource and then HTTP get. That's it. So whenever I'm going to be making this a business logic can be accessible from the third-party organization, this is called as a web service. So web service contains a custom business logic which can be accessible from third-party applications. Okay, simple concept. Now, so now here we are ready with my web service here. Okay, I'm ready with my web service. Then how can we test it? Previously, whenever we are preparing any validations, triggers, or Visual Force pages, after writing the code, we are testing, right, whether it is working properly or not. Like the similar way, after preparing this web service, before giving this web service to my third-party applications, okay, third-party applications, I need to test it, whether this web service is properly working or not. I want to test it. Then how can we do the testing over here? Then what we need to do, we need to invoke this web service. How can we invoke? In order to invoke the web services, we have multiple ways are available. Yesterday we have discussed. Like we can use to invoke the web services, we are having that multiple ways. First one, we can use Workbench tool. Second one, we can use Postman tool or HPQTP through Apex programming also, by using third-party applications also, by using integration tools also. So as part of this course, we will see how to invoke by using Workbench tool, and then how to invoke by using Apex programming also, by using OAuth authentication. Okay, open authentication, OAuth authentication, which is most important one, we'll see. Now, so in this case, how can we use this Workbench tool in order to invoke my web service? Now let's see. So let's open that web service like as Workbench tool. Go to the Workbench tool. Just to go to the Google and then type that developerforce.workbench.developerforce.com, or simply we can specify Workbench. It will be indicating the first URL will be workbench.developerforce.com. Click on that link. Now select the environment. To which environment you would like to connect? This is my developer environment. Developer environment is a production. So select that production. Suppose if you are connecting to the sandbox, then you can select that sandbox. Now we are connecting to the production, so that we can select the production. Select the checkbox here. I am going to be agreeing with the terms and conditions. Click on login with Salesforce. So now here in this case, it has been connected to my Salesforce account. It has been connected to my Salesforce account. Now, so now what I want to do, I want to invoke this web service. So this is the web service which I have implemented. How can we access this web service? By using a URL. What is that URL? We have to specify ap16.salesforce.com/ we have to specify services / apex rest / your resource name. What is my resource name? Accounts service. Then how can we test it now? Let's see. Simply go to this Workbench tool. You will be having an option called as utilities. Go to this utilities. Inside that we are having an option called as REST Explorer. Click on this REST Explorer. Nothing but in order to explore that RESTful web services, to test this web services, to invoke that RESTful web services. Click on this RESTful web services Explorer. Now it is providing that here. Now it is providing the path. You can specify the path over here. So now here ap15.salesforce.com will be specifying by this Workbench tool automatically, because it is already connecting to that with my Salesforce account here. So just you can specify /services /apex rest / what is my resource name? My resource name is accounts service. This is the resource name. Specify the resource name. Accounts service. What is that method type over here? It is indicating to you. So which type of method it is? So is it a get method, or post method, or put method, or patch method, or delete method? These are the methods over here. So now here in this case, I would like to use these methods here. So what is the method type in this case? My web service is having a method called as get, so that whenever I'm going to be indicating, selecting this method type as get, automatically it will go to this particular web service class. In this web service class, so whatever the method is available, with the help of that annotation HTTP get, that method will be getting written. So this method will be getting written, executed here. So this method will be getting called. So it will be executing the business logic. It will collect this account records from the object, placing inside the collection. Those records will be returned back. We can see these results inside this particular Workbench tool in the form of JSON format over here, along with XML format also. Let's see. So in this case, the method type as what? Get. See. So now are we specifying any class name over here? No. Are we specifying the method name? No. So because this method will be of type what? What is the annotation get? So that we have to give the method name as get and then specify the resource name. Without exposing my class name, without exposing the method names, we can able to expose our web services also. This is how we can able to protect our data from the third-party organizations. Now, so just you can select that method type as get. So now specify that resource URL. What is the resource? So ap15.salesforce.com will be preparing by this Workbench tool itself. From there we can specify /services /apex rest /accounts service. Now click on execute button. When you click on this execute button, it is going to be executing that whatever the account records are available, all the account records have been returned over here. These are the various account records are available inside my account object. Okay, these are the various account records have been written by my web service here. So it is returning all the account records. First record is about insurance. If you want to see this record data, expand this one, we can see. This is the ID of the record, name, rating value, industry, annual revenue, phone number, everything. But upon returning this result, it will be indicating in the form of JSON format. How can we see that JSON content? Here you are having that show raw response. Show raw response. So it is indicating that whole information. So these are the records information. Let me copy this. This is the JSON format of content over here. It will return the result in the form of JSON format. It is indicating this whole information. Now, these are the records information here. These in the form of array because not only one record, multiple records has been written so that it is preparing an array. In that array, this is the first account record information. Attribute is, it is indicating type is account, this is the account record, this is the URL, okay, how they have accessed this. And then this is the record information, ID, name, rating, industry, annual revenue, and the phone, comma, this is the second record information. And then this is the third record information. This is the fourth record information. Like that, all the records information has been written here. We can collect all the records also. So this is in the form of what? JSON format. How to parse this JSON format of content? You know that. So whenever the third-party people are going to be accessing my resource by using this URL, okay, by using this URL, then they will be getting the response in the form of JSON format. So the third-party people will collect that JSON format of response, and then they can able to parse it and they can store inside their database. They can do whatever the operation they want. This is how we are going to be preparing the web services. So previously what we did, we are invoking the web service. That web service is returning the JSON format of response. We have parsed that content into our own type by using JSON parser classes, and then we are storing inside our database, or we are displaying on that Visual First pages. But like the similar way, now we are preparing our own web services. Third-party people are invoking our own web services. Now our web service is returning the result in the form of JSON format. So those people will do the parsing content. They will convert that JSON format of content into their own type, and they can store inside the database. This is the implementation of preparing web services.
Sir, if they require the format other than JSON?
Sorry?
If they don't require the information in the form of JSON, you are saying, right, we would be having the XML format and another text formats.
They can specify.
So how to check
whenever they are going to be invoking that web service, they have to give the response format here. So content type, in which format they want that content. There is a method is available, content type method. Upon invoking this web service, they have to specify the content type. In that content type, they have to indicate in what format they want, either XML or JSON or text format. They can specify it. Okay. Here, as part of this Workbench tool, it is representing the information in the form of JSON format. So whenever you are invoking through programming, when moving forward, we'll see how can we invoke this web service from a different Salesforce account, okay, from a different Salesforce account by using OAuth authentications. So there I will show you how can we get the response in the form of XML format. Simply we are having some methods are available. As part of this HTTP class, okay, HTTP request class, we are having the methods are available. Content type, by using this content type method, we can indicate in which format you want to get the content over here, either in XML or JSON or either in text format. We can indicate that. Okay. So this is the way we are going to be invoking this web service. Now, so let me place this code. Web service class and the testing process. resource
Sir,
URL,
how
or it is
many
also called as endpoint.
sir, how many records can we get? Is there any limit for that?
There is no limitation. There is no limitation at all. Method name is get. So this is the web service class, and then this is the testing procedure here by using Workbench tool. I'm giving the URL workbench.developerforce.com. Next one, let's see one more example. Let's take one more small use case. Now, create a RESTful web service. Create a RESTful web service to get all the new cases information. New cases information from the case object. I want to collect all the new cases information, not all, not closed cases. I want to get only those cases information whose status is equals to new. Newly raised cases information I want to collect. Then, how can we prepare this web service? Now let's see practically. Now, I'm preparing the web service class. Case manager service. So we have to make that class as global and then give that resource name @REST resource. REST resource, I'm indicating the URL mapping. URL mapping equals to, I'm indicating that case service. I'm giving the resource name as case service. Then prepare the method here in order to collect all the cases information. So I'm indicating this HTTP get. I'm preparing that method global static list of cases information get all new cases. Get all new cases. So I want to collect all the new cases information from my case object. Then how can we do that? I'm indicating list of case. List of cases equals to I'm collecting this. Select ID of the case, case number, case status, case type, case reason, case origin, case priority, and the case subject, and the case subject from the case object, where status equals to new. What are the new cases are available? Only those cases I'm collecting over here. And then I want to arrange this case records based on that case number. Order by case number. Based on the case number, I want to arrange these records in the alphabetical order. Now, I want to return these cases. Return LST cases. Return LST cases. So I'm going to be returning these case records. Now, so now here I have prepared a web service class with the name case manager service, which can be accessible by using a resource name called as case service. And then I would like to collect all the cases information which are available inside my case object whose status is equals to new. So that I have prepared a method with the name get all new cases. And then by using this method, I'm collecting all the new cases information which are available inside my case object. Okay, by using an SOQL query with the help of by adding a condition with the help of where class, where status equals to new. I'm collecting only those new cases. And then once the cases have been getting collected, I'm arranging those case records based on the case number in the numerical format. That means in the alphabetical format, in the ascending order. And then I'm returning those cases information. Only the new cases information I'm returning over. So now let's see how can we invoke this service. Now, let's go to the workbench tool. Here also the method is get same because this is also the get annotated method over here. So now my resource name is case service. I'm indicating case service. This is the resource name. Now click on execute button. Once you click on execute, it is going to be executing the case manager service class. It is invoking that method get all new cases. These are the various cases information is available whose status is equals to. It will be returning the result in the form of the JSON format. So when you click on that show raw response, we can see this response information also in the form of JSON format. These are the cases information is available in the form of array because not only one, multiple cases are available with the status new, and these cases information has been written in the form of the JSON format. These are the cases. This is the case record. This is the ID of the case starting with the 500. This is the case number. Status is new. Type equals to mechanical. Reason equals to performance. Origin email and the priority high. The subject, the case the subject is seeking guidance on electrical wiring installation for GC5060 device. This is the case subject. If you want the description also, then you can get the description. This is the second case. This is also a new case here, which is having the subject as maintenance guidelines for generator unclear. This is the third case information, which is having the subject design issue with mechanical rotor. And the one more case here, which is indicating that subject as my webcam is unable to capture the videos. This is another case which is having that I'm unable to have the video calls with my webcam. Like that, here we can able to see all the cases information inside this. Whatever the cases are available which are having the status equals to new, all the cases information we can able to collect. This is how we are going to preparing the web service, and we can able to invoke the web service to get the records from the third party, okay, from the Salesforce to the third party. So let me go to this. Resource URL. That means endpoint URL here. And the method. Method will be get method. So what is the web service class? Now let's see. This is the web service class. This is the web service class. Next one. Present. First one. Create a web service to expose to the third-party application. To the third-party applications. This is the first agent. Second agent. Create a web service to access all the lead records whose annual revenue is more than 2 lakhs. Create a web service to access all the lead records whose annual revenue is more than 2 lakhs. And the third one, create a web service to access all the position records whose status is in progress. Whose status is in progress. These are the 3 assignments which you have to implement. Now, the next one. As of now, we have discussed how to create the web services and how can we expose the business logics and how can we access the records through with the help of web services we have discussed. But in this case, what we are going to be collecting all the records, or we are collecting only a few records by hard coding the conditions inside my method itself. Inside the method itself, I am going to be hard coding the conditions. But sometimes I don't want to hard code. Sometimes I don't want to collect all the account records. Okay, with the help of a web service, I will pass one account record ID. Based on that ID, it has to return those only that particular record to be here. I will pass one account record ID to my web service. Based on that ID only, that respective record it has to return, not all to me. Sometimes I will pass some industry name to my web service. So based on that industry name, whatever the related accounts are available, those it has to return to. Sometimes I will pass some case status to my web service. So based on that case status, whatever the case records are available, it has to return only those records. That means I would like to make that functionality dynamic. Why? Because this previously in the last sessions we have discussed. Whenever I'm passing a city name, we are collecting the respective weather information. If I'm passing a pin code number, I'm collecting that respective post office branch detail. That means I'm passing that post office branch number, like as some pin code. Based on the pin code, I'm collecting that. Based on the city name, I'm getting the weather information. Based on the mobile number, I'm sending the SMS. Like the similar way, I want to pass some conditions. That means I want to pass some parameter. Based on that parameter only, we can able to collect the respective information from through my web service here. Then how can we do that? How to pass the parameter to your web service class? So now here in this case, whenever if you want to pass the parameters to that web service class, we have to use a class called as REST context class. REST context is a standard class which has been given by Salesforce, which is used to pass the parameters to that web service, so that based on that parameters we can able to get the required information by adding the proper condition dynamically at a time. Now, so in this case, how can we use this REST context class and how to pass the parameters? We'll see practically in this case. Now. So now here in this case, how can we pass the parameters to my web service class? Okay, by using this REST context class. Now let's see practically in this case. Now let's see the practical part. So first of all, give me some information over here regarding this REST context class. REST context class. What is this REST context class and what is the use? Now let's see practically. So REST context is a class which is going to be establishing the communication between the provider and the consumer. REST context is a class which is going to be establishing a secured channel, a secured communication between the provider and the consumer, so that consumer can able to pass some parameters to that provider, and the provider can able to receive that parameter. Based on the parameter, it is collecting the required information, and the data will be returning back to the consumer. Consumer means client, provider means server. So in order to have the communication between the client and the server, generally in the database terminology, we are calling it as client and server, but as part of the web services, we have to call it as provider, consumer. Okay, provider and the consumer. Provider means who is providing the resources, that means server. Consumer, who is consuming that means client or the customer, like that. Okay, now. So in this case, these are the terminology we have to use, provider and the consumer. So don't use like as client and server. Now, so in this case, REST context class is establishing a secured communication channel between the provider and the consumer, so that they can able to pass the parameters to the web service at runtime, and then depends upon that parameter, we can able to get the respective information also. So in this case, internally, this REST context class is having two inner classes over there. One is REST request class, second one is REST response class. Okay, how can we do that now? Let me explain. Now, this class is used to establish the secure communication channel between the provider and the consumer, so that consumer can pass the required input parameters to the provider. Then provider can return the required information to the consumer. So that here, so we can able to pass the parameters from the consumer to provider, so that provider can receive these input parameters, input values. Based on these input values, it is going to performing some operation, it is returning the result over here. Now, so this REST context class is having, okay, the two inner classes here. It contains the below inner classes. First one is REST request class. Second one is REST response class. REST request class and the REST response class. So what is this REST request class? REST request class is going to be receiving the request which has been sent by the third-party application. Now this REST request class is used to make a request to the RESTful web service. In order to make a request to the RESTful web services here, we are sending a request to the web service to collect some data. At that time, if you want to pass any parameters, then we can pass the parameters in the form of the resource body. So we can pass the required parameters also to the web service. So now in this case, what happened? We can able to pass the required parameters, input values we can supply. Suppose if it is a procedure, concept is very, very simple, nothing else. So generally, we're preparing some procedures. Like for example, public void, some add. So now tell me, can I pass some parameters to my procedure or not? Yes. How? We can have some parameters here. Integer some x, integer some y. Like that here, if you want to pass some parameter to the web service, then we can able to use this REST request class. REST request class is used to prepare a request which we can send to the web service class, okay, which is used to pass some information. In order to pass some required parameters, we are going to be using this REST request class. So depends upon your need, we can pass one or more number of parameters also to the web service class. That possibility is available. So now whenever I'm going to be sending this parameters information to that web service, then all this information will be storing in the form of key and the value pairs. Okay, whatever the information that I'm passing, that information will be storing in the form of key and the value. That means what? Map collection format. So where we are going to be indicating that. So now the key will be the parameter name and then value will be the parameter value. So this is the parameter name. For this one, what is the value you are supplying? That is nothing but value. This is the key name here. X is nothing but the key. Y is nothing but the key. These are the two keys we are passing. Along with that, for X, what value we are passing? Some 100. For the Y, we are passing 200. So those values are storing in the values place. X is the key, value is 100. Y is the key, value is 200. Like that, we can able to pass that values also inside this. Like as multiple parameters we can able to pass. So in this case, whenever the third-party people are going to be sending the request to the web service, whatever the request they have sent, that will be storing inside my REST request class. And then in this REST request class, you will be having the input parameters information also. This is having the actual input parameters. So now we can able to collect that information and then we can able to store inside our own web service class, and then based on that parameters, we can able to write the business logic inside this. Now then how can we do that? Now let's see practically in this case here. Let me give that note point here. Now, the first one, REST request class. What is this REST request class? Now let's see practically. This class is used to make a request to the web service to get the required information. Now, the consumer can pass the required input parameters to the web service by using REST request class. The consumer can pass the required input parameters to the web service also by using this REST request class, so that they can get the response. They can get the required response. From the web service. Now, in this case, whenever the third-party people are sending the input parameters to this web service, that will be storing in the form of key and the value pairs. It will store the input parameters in the form of key and value pairs. It will store the input parameters in the form of key and the value pairs collection. It will store the input parameters in the form of the key and the value pair collection. So where key will be the parameter name, and the value will be the parameter value. So now in this case, it will be storing the key and the value pairs information. It will be having key and the value pair information will be available inside this. Like for example, we are having the key, we are having the value. Now, for example, I'm indicating the key over here. I'm indicating the key some ID. Value will be, it is having some value, 001, some value number. We can indicate that name. Key will be the name. Value will be some test. We can pass that rating, like as I'm indicating some education. We are indicating that annual revenue. I'm indicating the value some 10,000. Like that, here we can able to pass the parameters also. This is the parameter name and the parameter value. So we can able to pass the parameters in the form of key and value pair collection. So not only one parameter, we can able to pass multiple parameters also to a single web service class. Then, so how this information will be storing inside this REST request class? So whenever if you want to collect this information from the REST request class, so that means third-party people are sending this request here. How it is storing this information in the form of key and the value pair. But inside my web service, we have to collect these input values, right? Based on these values, I need to add some conditions. Based on the condition, only the matching records I want to send to the third-party people. So at that time, how can we collect this information here? How can we collect this information right now? So in this case, whatever the key and the value pairs, that means whatever the input parameters has been supplied by the third-party people, all this information will be storing inside my REST request class, okay, inside a parameter, inside a property called as params property. Params is a property. Okay, params is a property in which all the input parameters information will be getting stored, which has been sent by the consumer. So whatever the input parameters has been sent by the consumer to the web service class, all those input parameters information will be storing inside a class, inside my REST request class in the form of a property called as params property. So which will be returning the data in the form of map collection over here. Now let's see. So now property. So it is having a property called as params property. This property contains all the input parameters, supplied by the consumer to the web service class. Now, it contains the information in the form of a map collection. We can collect that here. We can collect the input parameters from the REST request class. As below. Now the syntax. We have to specify the map collection. Map of string comma string. That means key is also of type string, value is also of type of string. It will be returning that value. And then we can specify the object name equals to REST context dot request dot params. REST context dot request dot params. So now here in this case, whatever the parameters we have supplied to that web service class, all the parameters are going to storing inside the params property of REST request class. For the REST request class, it is preparing the object called as request, which is available inside a parent class called as REST context class. Now, so in this case here, for example, if you want to collect these input parameters, for example, we can specify map of string comma string. I would like to specify here input params equals to REST request. REST context dot request dot params. So just we can able to collect this information. Based on that, we can able to send the response here. In order to send the response, we are having a class called as REST response class. The second class is REST response class. REST response class. Then what exactly the REST response class? Now this REST response class is used to collect the required response information from web service to third party. So whenever if you want to collect the response information from the web service to the third party application, we are using the help of REST response class. Now, by using this class, we can collect the response from the web service class to the third-party application. So in order to pass the request, we are using the REST request class. In order to get the response, we are using this REST response class. Now, upon passing that input parameters to that REST request web service by using this REST request class, all those input parameters will be storing in the form of key and the value pairs. And then we need to collect these parameters inside my web service class. Based on these input parameters, we need to collect the required information by adding the conditions inside my web service. And then we can return that respective records information to that third-party application. Now, so in this case, how can we use this REST request class in order to pass the parameters? Now let's see practically in this case. Now, so as of now, we have collected all the records from the object, but now I want some specific records. I want to pass some parameters to my web service. Based on that parameters, it has to return only those related records, not all to me, not all positions, not all cases, not all accounts. If I'm passing one account record ID, then only that record information it has to return. If I'm passing one account record name, only that account record information it has to return to me. If I'm passing one case number, only that case record it has to return to me, not all the records. How can we pass? Now let's see.
Sir, how does consumer will know the record ID, sir?
Sorry?
How does the consumer will know the record ID? It's confidential, so how does he know the complete record ID in order to access?
Now, in this case here, if the consumer is collecting the record ID from the source people here, okay, from the source people, if you know that account ID or the case ID, then only they can able to collect this information. Suppose if they don't know that, based on the name, they can able to search. They can able to fetch that record also based on the other criteria. They can able to collect this information also. Like whenever I'm going to the bank, in order to deposit some money over here from any other branches here, my home branches belongs to my, because my hometown, but I'm from Hyderabad. So now in this case, I want to go to that bank account, bank branch. I want to deposit some money over here. So now here in this case, whenever if we are going to be informing to that bank employee, this is my account number. I'm informing to that bank employee, but this is my account number. So please collect the details of my bank account and then deposit. This is the new amount over here. Like that here we are passing that information so that they can collect the data from the other branch and then they can able to update my bank balance with the new amount whatever we have added today. Like that here we can able to collect that information. Now, suppose if you don't know that bank, like as the account number, so based on that some other criteria, they can able to fetch that here. Now, so now here in this case, we can able to pass the parameters. Based on the parameters information only, we can able to fetch the data. Now, then how can we do that? Now let's see practically in this case. So how can we prepare a web service which will be receiving some input parameters? Based on that parameters, how can we pass the information and then how can we get the required response information? Now let's see practically in this case. Now, so now let me take a small use case, how to implement this one. Now, let's take a small use case. Create a web service to collect, to fetch only the required case information based on the case number or the case ID. I will pass that. For example, let me take one account also or lead also, whatever, anything depends upon your requirement. Create a web service to get the required lead record information. Required lead record information based on the lead ID. Based on the lead ID. Based on the ID of the lead record, I would like to collect only that lead record information. I will pass one lead record ID, then my web service will receive this lead record ID. Based on that lead record ID, it has to return only that particular lead record here, not the other records information. Then how can we do that? Now let's see practically in this case. Now, let me prepare a web service class. I'm preparing the web service. So now, lead manager service. Lead manager service. I'm making this class as a web service by defining it as a global. And then I'm indicating the REST resource. To specify the resource name, URL mapping equals to, I'm indicating slash lead record service. And then I'm preparing the method. I'm preparing a method in order to collect only the respect to lead record information. Global static. With that lead ID, will be having only one lead record. So I'm returning that only one. So lead record, get the lead record by ID. Now, I'm going to be collecting the data here. Also, I'm going to be getting this information so that I'm indicating that this is HTTP get. I'm getting the records here. Not all, only one specific record based on the record ID. I will show you how to pass one record. Okay, how to pass, how can we collect one record, how to collect multiple records, everything will show you here. Now, so now here in this case, I'm passing this lead record ID. Based on this lead record ID, I would like to collect all the information. So now in this case, whatever the parameter you are passing to this web service, so all the parameters information is storing inside that REST context class. Inside the REST context, you will be having REST request. Now I'm having the REST context dot request dot params. So now whatever the parameters you are supplying to this web service, all the parameters information will be there inside that REST context class. In that one, we are having that REST request, and then it will be having a property called as params, which will be returning the result in the form of map collection. Map of string comma string. Now I'm indicating that input params. Whatever the parameters are available, I'm collecting this. So now whatever the records has been, whatever the input parameters has been written or supplied to the web service, all the input parameters information will be storing inside this params property. And from there, I need to collect the required information. So they're passing one lead record ID. Okay, they're passing one lead record ID. I need to collect that lead record ID from the map collection, right? Yes. How can we collect that? So we are having this input params dot get method. Here we can able to pass that key, nothing but parameter name, like as some ID. Based on that ID, it is going to be returning the key over here. So based on the ID, it is returning the value. Based on that value, we can able to collect only that particular lead record information. Then how can we collect now? Let me explain. I'm collecting the lead record. Lead record equals to, I'm querying the record. Select ID of the lead record. First name, last name, email, company, phone, title, status, fax, and then rating, industry, annual revenue from the where ID equals to, I'm collecting this information. How? Input params dot get of the key. I'm passing that parameter name. whatever the parameter they have passed to my web service, I am going to be passing these parameters to my where class. I'm collecting that parameter name. Based on the parameter name, I'm going to be collecting the value. That value I'm matching with this ID field of that lead record. I'm going to be collecting the lead. And then that lead record I'm returning over here. Return lead record. I'm returning that lead record over here. Now, let's see. What is the problem? No such column. First name.
The spelling of first.
So now here in this case, I'm going to be collecting that only the respective lead record information. So in this case, what will happen? So now I am going to passing one lead record ID over here. Based on the lead record ID, I would like to collect only the respective lead record information. I'm returning to that third-party application so that they can collect that data and they can able to perform the operations whatever they want. So this is how we have to pass the parameters here. So when coming to my web service is going to be receiving the parameters over here because third-party people are passing some parameters. Based on the parameters, I'm collecting the parameter name. Based on the parameter name, collect the value. Based on that value, we can able to prepare the conditions. With the help of the condition, collect only those records which are matching with the required records and return only those records, not all. So then how can we test this web service over here? Now let's see. My resource name is lead records service. This is the get method. Let's go to that workbench and then specify this. Here we can able to pass the ID also over here. Specify question mark nothing but query string. ID equals to pass one of the lead record ID. So let me collect any. Let me collect any of this lead record ID here. I'm collecting that lead record ID for Ram Kumar assignment. This is the record ID here I'm collecting. I'm passing this lead record ID. When you go to my workbench tool, I'm passing this lead record ID here. I'm invoking the web service Apex REST lead records service / we can specify the question mark nothing but upon invoking this particular web service, I'm passing one ID parameter also. Based on this parameter, please return only that particular record to me here, not all. Now click on execute. It has been session has been expired. Now let me invoke this again. Services Apex REST. So my web service name is lead records service / ID equals to pass the lead record ID, any one of the lead record ID. I'm collecting the lead record ID. I'm passing over here. When you click on execute button, it will return only the particular lead record information, like as Ram Kumar assignment lead record. When you see that raw response, we can see only that lead record information, not all. Whatever the lead record ID we have supplied, only the respective lead record information will be returned to you. This is the ID of the lead record: first name, last name, email ID, phone number, company name, and the title, status, fax value, rating value, industry, annual revenue. All this information has been returned over here. This is the response which we have received. So the third-party people will be parsing this response and they can store inside the database wherever they want here. Depends upon the requirement. So like that here, we can able to pass the parameters to my web service, and based on that parameters, they can able to get only that respective information also.
Sir?
Yes.
Sir, the ID which we have given is not the complete ID. It is having only 15 digits. So how did it access into that, sir?
Now, because your Salesforce will be Salesforce is having the possibility. Suppose if you're using the third-party application, Salesforce to Salesforce, it is possible. If you're using some third-party application, then mandatorily we have to pass that 18 characters ID.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Now, testing process. I'm giving this resource URL. Method will be get. Like that. So let's see. So one more example with some different parameters here. For example, assume that I'm having the position records inside my position object. I have a position object is there. In my position object, I'm having so many position records are available. So only 3 positions are available over here. Now, for example, let me take another object here, like some case. So I'm having so many cases are available. Now, what I want to do is I would like to pass that priority. I will pass the priority, okay, as the input. It may be high, it may be medium, it may be low, whatever. If I'm passing the priority as high to my web service, it has to return only those cases whose priority is equals to high, not the remaining cases. I don't want to get only one record. I don't want to get all the records. I want to get only those cases, okay, only those cases. So whose the priority is equals to high. The remaining records I don't want over here. Then how can we do that? Now let's see practically in this case. Now let's see. Take a use case. Create a web service to fetch only those cases, to fetch the case records based on the specified priority. Specified priority at runtime. Now let's see how can we implement this. Let me create one more web service class. Case records service. I'm making this class as global. I'm indicating this as the resource URL mapping to specify the resource name. I'm indicating the case records, case manager service. Now I'm preparing a method, which is a HTTP GET method. I'm preparing that method. Global static list of cases. Why? Because is with the same priority, you may be having more number of cases also. So for that reason, I'm going to be returning that list collection. Get cases by priority. Get cases by priority. So first of all, we have to collect that input parameters which have been supplied by the third party. So I'm collecting this information. Map of string input params equals to, I'm indicating this. List context dot request dot params. So in that one, they will be passing the parameter name over here. Based on that parameter, I would like to collect that information. So now here I'm indicating this. So collect the cases. List of case, LST case records. I'm fetching the cases. Select ID of the case, case number, case status, priority, type, origin, the reason, case subject. From the case subject, where priority equals to, we can able to specify that condition. Input params dot get of the parameter. Parameter name I'm indicating like as priority. Whatever the parameter they have supplied, I would like to collect that parameter name. Based on that parameter name, I'm collecting the respective value. Based on that value, I'm mapping the condition with this particular case object, and then I'm collecting those records. Those records I would like to record. Return LST case records. Return LST case records. Now, so I'm returning all those case records information. So these are the various cases I'm collecting. Based on the priority which we have supplied, we can able to collect those case records information also. That possibility is available to you. Now, so in this case, how can we do that here? Okay, how can we do that? Now let's see practically in this case. Now, how can we collect those case records based on this priority? Now, so let me invoke this web service based on that resource name. Now, I'm giving the resource name as case manager service slash, I'm indicating the priority. Priority equals to high. I'm giving the priority equals to high. So whenever I'm going to be giving the priority equals to high, based on that priority, I'm collecting the respective cases. Click on execute. So whenever I'm passing the priority as equals to high, only those cases whose priority equals to high, those records will be getting returned. Not all. So click on show raw response. Now we can see all the cases information in the form of that JSON format, which has been written by my web service. So all are high priority cases here. So this is the high priority case. This is also high. This is also high priority. This is also all are high priority. Suppose if I'm passing that priority as low. Low. Only that low priority cases will be getting returns to you. See, only that four records are available which are having the priority equals to low. If I'm passing like as medium, then only those records which are having the medium priorities here, those records will be returned to you. Like that depends upon the value which was supplied, the respective results will be getting returns to you. We no need to collect all the records. We can collect only those records which are matching the specified conditions, so that we can pass some parameters also to the web services with the help of this REST context class. So we can pass the parameters, so the web service will receive the parameters based on that input values. It is returning the respective records to you. This is how we can able to pass the parameters to that web service class.
Firoz, one doubt, Firoz. Like in both the examples, we just pass one parameter. So is there any way we can pass multiple parameters?
Yes. In the next session, I will show you how can we pass multiple parameters, how to insert. Because if you want to insert the record, we have to pass more number of parameters. I need to pass. Suppose I want to insert the record through my web service. Then at that time, I need to pass name value and rating value, industry, annual revenue, phone, fact, everything, multiple I want to pass. How to pass, we'll see. At that time, we have to use JSON format. Okay, not only one, multiple parameters how to pass, we'll see. Not only passing one record, how to pass multiple records also we'll see practically. I will show you all the use cases as part of this. No. So let me give you some examples. First one. Create a web service to get the required account records based on the specified industry. Based on the specified industry. Second, create a web service, get all the related contact records based on the specified account name. I will pass account record name. I want related contact records. Okay, here what you need to do, collect the account record name, and then based on the account name, collect the account record ID, and then based on the account ID, collect the respective contact records and return to. This is the internal implementation. Create a web service to get all the position records based on the specified location. Based on the specified location. Depends upon the location name which are passed. If I'm passing Hyderabad, it has to return only the Hyderabad related positions. If I'm passing like as Bangalore, it has to return only the Bangalore positions. Next. Create a web service to get all the related positions, all the related candidates for the specified position name. So based on that position name, whatever the position ID is available, collect that position ID. Based on that position ID, for that position, whatever the candidate has been applied, I want all those candidates information. These are the 4 examples. So now this is the way we can use that, prepare the web services to get the information. So initially 3 and then 4, totally 7 assignments here. So complete these assignments by this week. So we'll be having the continuation session on next Saturday at same time. We'll have the remaining methods. How can we use that? Post method, patch method, delete method. Okay, everything we'll see that. Okay, so that we can complete. If you know this one, remaining methods are very, very simple to you. So that here we'll complete all the remaining methods in the next Saturday, and Sunday we'll see the concept of OAuth authentication. How can we use open authentication? We'll see practically over there.